This is the same parent studio, Sony Pictures.
That is crazy.
That did
their highs are high. And
Across the Spider-Verse, Into the Spider-Verse, two of the greatest Spider-Man movies, period.
It is crazy.
And then
it's
you
like
have
they know
Madam Web. Here's my opener.
You have something?
Yes.
Okay.
That's an easy opener. Have you seen, or have you, like, maybe Christine has seen them? Like, there's a trend happening on TikTok, and it's like carrying over to like everywhere else now too, where it's like, if I won the lottery, I wouldn't tell anyone, but there would be signs. What is your?
Yeah. It's on Reddit too.
It is
as
on
well.
Reddit too. Okay, cool. What is your? But there will be signs, and you know how it works, right? Where it's like kind of a frivolous thing.
It's yeah. Oh man. Oh, I guess what it would be if I won the lottery, the sign would be I would have a video store, like a rental store.
Oh my god.
That's like 4Ks and like a Blu-ray player and like projectors. That would just be like, I won the lottery, I would just probably do that.
Like, why is Spencer opening up a Blockbuster? Spencer just opened up a Blockbuster?
It doesn't seem like it's going to make money.
Why?
I don't think he has money. I don't know what
he won the lottery.
doing.
He's got money to burn. It doesn't matter.
It's literally, exactly. Where it's just like, nah, I just like, it's somewhere to talk about movies and technology really more than anything. Probably.
That's a fun one.
Honestly, like that would probably be one of them. I think the other thing would be like a wall full of headphones.
God, yeah, you stole the one, because that's what I posted to TikTok today. It was
oh, you did?
My it was like but there will be signs was the Sennheiser. It didn't put the price or anything. It's just like a pair of headphones and a nice amplifier. But it's the Sennheiser HE1s, the $60,000 headphones. No one would know. Yep. They're just headphones, and it's a stupid amount of money to spend on headphones. But
I mean, that, you got to give it to Apple. That's the one thing that they really did with the Air Max Pros, where it's like they look different and it makes it look more expensive than other headphones that look kind of the same.
Yeah.
Like, but it's hard to do with the headphone. It's not like those headphones look like they also could cost $150.
Yeah. Headphone design has gotten better, but still, outside of like, okay,
our ears are shaped. Our brains only take in sound in certain ways. You can't like go crazy with it. It's like there's got to be shit on top of your ear.
Well, and then if you do it all over, then they get like really big and bulky, and then it's like heavy, and people are like, it's too heavy, and it's like, okay, I get it. Or put too much pressure on my head. But whatever.
Hey, I just hope if we do win the lottery, it's not like that guy who won the lottery and then they were like, nah, I didn't.
Oh man.
Like, nah.
The most likely outcome. We're all fantasizing about winning the lottery, and that's the most likely outcome.
Like,
that's like, yeah, I'm jumping off the bridge at that point.
I mean, I think that would deeply break something inside of my whole being, and I honestly don't think I could come back from it. Like, you know what I mean? Like that for me, that high to the disappointment, I think it's more than any person should bear. I just feel bad for that guy. If anything, should be a person where like GoFundMe, because it's like, dude, that sucks.
Yeah. That's, I cannot imagine. The Reddit will not like this answer, but that's GameStop stock basically is what that was for us, because it's dead. Welcome to the DMGT podcast. I'm your host, Andy.
And I am Spencer.
And this is a podcast about video games and music and tech. And it's been mostly video games lately, but eventually the other stuff come around. It's light news at the start of the year. Outside of CES, it like slows down like crazy until like the summer.
Yeah, now it's just like, one thing, Google News, just before we get into anything, or any of like or Apple News, or really any of the news is, I will just say, I don't want to see so much of my technology news specifically just being like iPhone rumors.
Oh
No
yeah,
matter how many
no.
times I'm like, thumbs down, I don't want this. I don't want this. It's like every day, it's like, no, but you do want to know about the rumors of the next one in the incremental upgrades of Apple and iPhone. And I'm like, I really don't.
No, it's
I really don't.
Yeah, those days are gone because the updates and upgrades suck now.
Yeah, doesn't matter anymore.
Hey, what are we talking about today, Spencer?
Oh boy.
Brain farted.
Yeah. No, we've definitely not had a week off. Or anything. We're
Not
in our
rusty.
groove.
Not rusty.
Danny, we're gonna be talking about a couple live service games.
Live service.
Always online kind of games.
Oh my gosh.
Co-op game kind of games. Some games kind of games.
Trigger word.
And just kind of, think about that whole space right now, because it's a weird, big bet, high risk area of video games that everyone wants a piece of, but it's very, very selective in what gets to keep their piece. Another thing we'll talk about very probably briefly, because there's not much news, but Portal, the PS Portal, is getting, I guess we would in the past call it like jailbreaked.
Yeah.
To go back to like iPhone 3GS
Whoa, man.
type of stuff. But I got jailbroke to some emulation, which is kind of fun. And it's almost like that should have been what it was. And then we'll kind of talk a little bit at the end here about PS5 indicating that it's on the latter part of life cycle.
Yeah, okay.
And we'll talk about what we think that means and what it seems the internet has decided it means.
Okay. Yes,
and also why
I'll save my takes.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. But Danny, let's start with Palworlds, because I still haven't played it, but I want to know, how many weeks in are we?
We're a little over a month. We're basically at right a month, like a month and a day. Yeah.
And when's the last time you played it?
I played a little bit last night.
And how many hours have you played, do you think, in that month?
In that month, 20 hours. Not a ton. 20 hours.
Do you see yourself staying with the game longer than maybe another one or two updates?
Maybe, potentially. This one for me is potentially filling in the like the Minecraft thing, where it's like I'm gonna like casually, regularly play it, where it's like I'm gonna throw in an hour this week, and it's just gonna be a constant little thing. I'm gonna do like a little task. Here's what I was doing before, and I'm just gonna like chip away at it longer term.
Okay.
But it's like it's done enough for me to like, yeah, I'll keep playing this. But I get what you're trying to get to, because I mean, let's get into it.
So kind of looking at Palworld on Steam charts, it's definitely, it was not a sustainable thing for it to
2 million players, concurrent players, like, not sustainable at all.
Right.
At least on Steam, on the Steam side. It's probably overall, it's probably closer to that number, but yeah.
But I think kind of what we're seeing, and this is what you see in almost every live service game, like kind of except the biggest ones, like the Fortnites and of the world, Apex and all that, like Call of Duty, whatever. But it's now down to still healthy amounts, 250,000 daily
right
players.
Now,
it's looking like concurrent, yeah. But it's like basically kind of looks like a box office tail off, right? Where it's not necessarily looking like a sustainable curve. It's looking like a curve that hasn't found its bottom. It hasn't basically normalized itself yet. And it looks, at least from what I'm seeing, like I'd probably peg it normalizing sub 200,000 in the next couple weeks. Probably settle into a strong fan base of maybe 100,000 with peaks of 400,000 to 500,000 upon release.
Yeah.
Of new stuff, something like that. Like, and maybe, I don't know, that might be enough for what the investment was from the developers, like, and the, you know, like the company that made Palworld. Maybe that's all they need to actually like keep it going indefinitely, or maybe
It's
not.
let me get into this one because I think people are grabbing and people like, I think in general gamers should release themselves from the shackles of SteamDB charts. I think it's interesting data to look at from an analytic
Yeah.
point of view, but not from an indicator of like how good a game is or is not. 400,000 24-hour peak. That is still fourth on the Steam chart in the past 24 hours. Right? It's yes, fourth. Sixth, actually. I was looking at the wrong chart. But that puts it above Grand Theft Auto 5, Baldur's Gate 3, which is still crazy how strong that is, considering that it's a
Dude,
I mean, it kind of is a multiplayer game, but it's mostly like a single player game. 132,000 8 months after launch. Nuts. Above Rust, above Call of Duty, above War Thunder, like some of these games that have like dedicated audiences. 400,000 is still extremely strong. This is outperforming billion-dollar yearly games. So Palworld, I don't think is a month in for it to be at 400,000. I think is still very strong. It'll probably stick around. 100,000, I think, is conservative, but probably like a good number to put it at once it like settles into a core audience, which still puts it in that Call of Duty range. This is
right,
hands down like the twist of it of being like, oh, it's down from 2 million concurrent players on Steam alone here to 100,000. It's a big drop off, but that is still like easily an extremely successful live service game. If we're 2 months down the line and it's still at 100K, extremely successful. It won. It did it. It became one of the live service games.
And then,
but
like, for people like me, really quick, that aren't, you know, maybe I don't really Steam, you know, I don't game on computers, so Steam charts aren't something I look at a lot. But just to put into context, I'm on Fortnite.gg, which is a place that apparently tracks Fortnite player count. Don't know if it's reputable or not, but right now it's saying that Fortnite has Tuesday, February 20th, 2.3 million people played.
Yeah.
2.3 million people. Like,
nuts.
It's just staggering to see that. And like, we're talking the estimated earnings, because this place also has that. The estimated earnings for yesterday is like Fortnite might have made the studio $1 million in just like straight cash off of those players playing. And that's like a low day, because some days they'll make $4 to $5 million of revenue.
Fortnite is
just by existing, not even like everything
anomaly.
else.
Fortnite is the anomaly. Truly, it is the
Fortnite is so crazily huge. Like,
not to derail us too much. Would you consider Fortnite one of the greatest games of all time at this point? Because I think I think yes, I think you have to, right? Like, it's
you have to.
I don't know how anyone could
that's
like deny it.
Like in video game terms, like what Fortnite is doing is basically like LeBron James's argument for GOAT.
Yeah.
Just maybe
the longevity,
not the highest high, even though Fortnite also has that. But then it's just, I just keep chugging along.
It's insane.
Past what anyone thinks
Absolutely
could be happening
insane.
For a game that initially was kind of chasing.
Yeah.
The earlier ones in kind of this like
it revolutionized
new world of long-standing games. Yeah.
We're talking about live service games because of Fortnite right now. Like that, it changed the industry straight up. It makes sense that they make that much money potentially, because like, yeah, that's how they get all these artists. Like who's lined up next for Fortnite events? I think they just, there were some rumors going around that Lady Gaga.
Why would I know
is
that?
Be the next one involved.
Okay.
Spencer, we're in gaming news.
I know we're in gaming news, but we don't talk about Fortnite.
We don't talk about Fortnite. You and I don't talk about Fortnite at all.
Yeah.
To be fair, I also don't play it. I just like keep up with the news because I have to. But yeah, it's crazy. And then on the other side too, like with Palworld's like, I'd call it like it's soft landing. It's a soft landing right now. Where It's like not quite as hyped up as it was that first week. And then on the other side, you have Helldivers, which is effectively doing the inverse, that the longer this game has been out, the ramp is getting higher and higher.
Yeah.
Palworld peaked in the first 5 days of its release. We're
Yeah.
2 weeks post Helldivers 2 launch, and it is not slowing down at all. It is basically the only
It's
reason
literally
why it's
its
not
all-time
higher.
peak is 1 minute. Its all-time peak is 1 minute ago.
Yeah, literally right now. The only reason why it's not higher than that is because they can't. They're still like patching the game code itself to be able to like sustain that many players.
Now, I will say, I know that this is, from what it seems like, this is likely truly they did not expect so many people to want to play this game.
No shot.
But if it wasn't that, it is an incredible marketing ploy to create scarcity in the marketplace for a thing that technically will never have scarcity because it's an always online available game. You know what I mean? Like, once it's released, you only get to release once. And I think it's like, man, it's a perfect confluence for them of like situations where it's not going to hurt them. It's actually making it more exciting for people who aren't already like, oh yeah, I'll try it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're creating news, basically.
I think there's a couple of things happening here because for every Helldivers 2 and for every Palworld, you have like, feels like every month you have like at least double of that in other live service games that just fail to get there. What Killed the Justice League peaked at like 40,000 players or something like that. It's a pretty low number. And that's not an indicator of a game's health, again, the number itself, but it does paint a picture of like, why do some games work and why do some games not? And I think it comes down to the game being or at least the game being released in the state where it's a video game that is fun to play first before any of the other monetization comes in. I think what happens is a lot of these big studios, AAA, I mean, go look at Skull and Bones right now, that Ubisoft is like, this is the first quadruple A game. It's like, shut up. No, it's not. They try to like, hey, we're going to try to monetize this into live service. How do we make a fun game around that rather than the other way around?
You know what? I would almost go a step further than, like, you're talking like basically the game has to be good upon release.
Yes. But it's not
I
just
would actually
that.
Submit, it's not that the game has to be good. I think the game's core loop has to feel good.
Okay, yes.
Like, it's because I would say Helldivers 2 is not a good game. Like, it's very repetitive already, even though it's a type of repetition that is enjoyable, but it's just like, you know, it's a zombie swarm. It's a Call of Duty zombie type of game.
No, this is Spencer. This is Left 4 Dead. I mean, this is literally Left 4 Dead.
It's all of those games, right? But it does the shooty and the explodey good, and it's so simple to kind of get into that there's a base to build off of, where it's like Fortnite release, totally different games. And like, I wonder, is that why Fortnite can live and why a lot of these games end up being flashes in the pan at best, right? Like what was the one from the former Battlefield people that was like 2 weeks, like a month and a half ago? The finals.
Oh yeah, the finals. Like,
the finals comes out hyper polished, like
pretty well polished,
very specific. And then like the idea of what it could be is interesting, but then I just don't think it iterated quickly enough to keep you there.
No, and that's the risk.
Yeah,
that's the risk with like any live service game. The content needs to be a steady stream and a constant stream. But the core loop still has to be engaging. And I think the way that you do that in Palworld, it's the concept of, it's the Pokemon concept where it's like, oh, it's fun to collect, but then you like just added a twist of like, oh, but now the pals like create things for you, and then you have the crafting components. So it's all about creating, and in a similar way, but with a different game mechanic, Helldivers 2, you create a sense of like urgency without creating too much of a sense of a grind for items, right? Because Helldivers 2, the urgency is in the gameplay loop itself of like, this feels like it's intense, but I can, like, the tools and the mechanics are there enough for me to like make it satisfying, and like it's a challenge, but once I get through, it feels satisfying. Palworld hits on that similar satisfaction thing of like, okay, cool, I got the thing and it's building it now. And now I got the cooler shit, and I can like repeat that loop, and it's satisfying. It's just challenging enough, but it's not done in a way that's like, hey, we'll make this less tedious to do if you buy the battle pass.
Yeah. And that is also then where a thing like Helldivers 2, I think, starts to get into trouble.
A little bit,
right?
yes.
Because Helldivers 2 effectively has what? 6 different mission types, maybe?
Yeah, it's
maybe even less.
Yeah, now I don't know if they changed. I don't know if they changed at the higher difficulties though. Is the only thing that I can't speak to. I haven't looked at the reviews yet.
There is more at like the super high difficulties because you kind of open up slightly different gameplay loops. But like I think that is something where the limit of the gameplay loop in Helldivers 2 kind of does make it inherently feel grindy, because variety makes grinding feel less grindy. Like, like the classic, there's nothing worse than playing World of Warcraft and having to go into the forest and just kill worms for like the whole first couple hours just to like get a base going. Starting to get your player making sense. Or you could pay more money to get a slightly quicker grind. And Helldivers 2 does that exact thing where we both got the pass.
Yeah.
Obviously, because we were excited to play it. Once we started playing it, we were like, we'll play this for like a month. That'll be fun. We'll play it for a bit together. Like, it's one of those social games. And then I was like, I don't think I've unlocked anything in like 5 hours of playing this game.
Yeah.
It's not like it's that much quicker to get shit. And that's what makes me frustrated. And that's what kind of makes me hesitant. Like, we're not saying that we think Helldivers 2 is going to persist. It's just an interesting moment of its launch right now. I don't necessarily think Helldivers 2 is going to be a big hit for forever.
Oh,
like it's not going to enter the pantheon.
It depends on what that means. Like, if it survives 5 months, I think that's a success enough. I also think it's hard to judge it right now, considering like most of our playtime was attempted over the weekend, where rewards weren't applied properly. Like, it's still. Yeah. This is one of the few extremely rare instances where, for some reason, this game is getting a ton of grace for not getting like your XP, not getting your like progression updated properly. Like, that's where I think a lot of that is. Where I don't know how much of that is the bugs of it not applying your progression properly, or if it's like straight up it's just that grindy. I can't like without a doubt make that determination yet, because it was so buggy over the weekend.
Yeah. I think the reason that they are getting grace, I think there's 2 big reasons. First reason is very clearly they've never made something like this. Like, that's like one of the big things where it's like, they haven't made a live service game really like this. They haven't made a third-person game. They haven't made a third-person shooter game. They like basically just stacks on stacks on stacks of novel challenges.
Yeah,
for this studio. So I think that's one thing people understand more about how hard it is to make a game. I think because gamers have attacked developers so hard, developers have been like fighting back about like, no, this is like the conditions we work in, and like I think ultimately some good has come out of that loop. Weirdly enough,
that's what Palworld's
not
also
the right
doing.
way to do it.
That's also what Palworld's doing. Yeah. Like, they're like showing you how the sausage is made, basically.
And then I think the CEO, the Helldivers CEO today came out and was like, "Hey, just like don't buy it yet."
That was crazy.
Like, straight up,
that was crazy.
like straight up was like, "Hey, like it's honestly, it'd be nice if you didn't buy it. Like right now, like buy it, please, but like right now, kind of screwing me. Also, could you guys log out? Don't do it. Come on."
Yeah. The whole like, hey, stop staying logged in.
Just leaving. Come on. doesn't help me.
They're gonna put
trying to make
timeouts.
the
They're gonna
game-
put timeouts
yeah,
into the game
right?
eventually for sure.
But it's like, but that's, I mean, that just speaks to how novice they were at
Yes.
some of the parts, right? Where they go, like every other big budget live service game, you're like, you can get timed up by looking at it funny. Like your internet dropped for a second, you're gone.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I mean? Like
It's
but- so I think it's some of that where they're like just saying like, yeah, we didn't expect it to be this way. Because I think everyone in the world, especially people that are in video games, like video games, in these like tech adjacent, interested in tech, I think the one thing that everybody agrees with is how hard everything is to get done. Like,
Yes,
you know what I mean?
yes.
Like, shoot, man. I honestly,
I don't know what to tell you. It's gonna take another week.
hey,
I get it.
I just did a process where I had to get it out by one day, and I was like, well, it'll technically be out. Not the way that I ultimately want it to be, but hey, you gotta get it going.
If you set the deadline, and I hit it.
Yeah, I hit technically. It's happening. Technically, I'm not saying flawlessly.
I do think about playing this game quite a bit right now, but I feel like that about many games that I pick up and then drop after a month. For me, in general, like if I play a game for a month, I got my money's worth. Whatever, dude. That's an entire month of gaming that I got out of something, even at full price. So if it's just that, that's fine. But I do find it interesting that why these work, and I think there's a little bit more to it than just like this is just the one that the internet and gamers picked. I think inherently the gameplay loop has to be good enough, and it makes me think about what the other live service games are doing to like lose their player base immediately, almost. So hey, as long as whatever game you play, as if you can load up and queue up and in less than like 5 minutes get into a match, your video game's not dead. Like you're playing and it's fine. Who cares what the numbers say? But yeah, it's very funny that like we got 2 games in back-to-back months that are live service in a time where like the sentiment seems to be like online leading up into this, like, screw live service games. These are like, a scourge on gaming, on the gaming industry. And it's like, oh, but you guys love these 2, and these are straight up live service games. So
yeah, well, I think
you just don't like bad games.
Well, no, I think it's also because the internet always has both parts, like both sides always exist together, and then there's everyone's constantly switching which side they're on depending on their personal opinion also of the exact thing. It's crazy. Where it's
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I don't like like we both don't like live service games, kind of like because they take too much time to really invest in. Yeah. But we also will play most of them. Like
we'll play a decent I mean, some of them it's Palworld was a little bit different for me because it's not like I bought it outright. Like if I remove my Game Pass subscription right now, I don't keep that game because I didn't buy it. So that's where that one feels a little bit different. And like the finals, free to play. If it's free to play, I'm gonna try it at least once. What does it cost me to like try a match? That's when like I loaded up Foam Stars. Like immediately I was like, this shit's kind of sucks. And then I uninstalled it.
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, I would say they were probably surprised that someone was downloading it, just in general, because there's no other game that is like come out except, of course, Skull and Bones that is so dead on arrival, it's not even funny. But like Foam Stars and like they were talking, it is insane how Sony was trying to just be like, no, dude, this is sick. Like, this is, dude, you're gonna, for real though, Foam, think about it.
Which is weird because Helldivers 2, it's not like they like gave them budget for marketing, but they were just like, hey, it's a game that exists. You can buy it for $40, whatever. And then this is the one I hit.
Definitely marketed on Reddit. Definitely
it's all over
every
Reddit. It's
post.
Insane. I'm like, this is too much, I guess. Relax. I already bought it.
Yeah.
Get off.
You're telling us not to buy it. Well, why are all the ads?
Stop marketing it.
Yeah, you stop marketing. If you come on,
it's look. I think
wait a second. Does he not actually want people to not buy it? No.
You're thinking about it too much now. You're thinking about it too much now. Yeah, you're overthinking it.
Don't think
you're
about
overthinking
it. You're right.
it.
You're right. You're right.
Speaking of overthinking it, Microsoft. Real quick, because we have to follow up from last episode. They did the Microsoft business update, and it wasn't the nuclear, event that so many people were reacting on. That, by the way, Spencer, oh my God, people are mad at you, at both of us, really. But who cares, man? It got like 300,000 views.
About
and
what?
It made like $300. Your little like fake rants of like console wars, PlayStation, we did it, baby.
Before we get into that, actually,
Dan, okay.
I just want to say,
here we go,
to all my Sony soldiers out there, we didn't think that this one was gonna be just another long battle in the war. We all thought this was our D-Day, this was our VE Day, this was all of the victory parades that we wanted to have, and yet I live to continue this fight. Kill me. But yeah, no, it was not as big as I thought. I have been wrong.
yeah. We for sure
just like a couple games gonna come
overreacted. I do think like it could have been Phil Spencer. This could have been an email. Literally, this could have been an email. You let this simmer for a whole week. People going nuclear, which we contributed to. I'm not gonna lie. And then you come out and you're like, "Hey, 4 games are going multi-platform." We're not telling you yet. Okay.
Yeah.
Why couldn't you say this last week? This could have been a press release. Save everyone literally so much time. I will say there was a bunch of contradictions that they kept saying. It was very corporate. If anyone works in corporate America, if you watch, it was rough. I watched it just to be informed. But it was rough because it's basically just corporate speak and like a bunch of contradictions. The whole like our underlying strategy on exclusives is not changing, but we are putting 4 games that were previously exclusive on the other platforms. Like that's how can your underlying strategy not be changing? How can you say that and then you're still putting games on our platforms?
I mean, maybe they're saying. I guess. Okay, let me try to translate here. So say that again. Underlying approach.
Underlying approach to exclusive games is not changing, but 4 games are coming to multi-platform.
Okay, so I think translating that, what that means is we're still gonna make games and stuff, and sometimes it'll be like for Xbox though. But then like now, if we feel it, we'll also go and also Sony. So it's like exclusivity doesn't matter anymore. But like, don't think about what I said. Okay, just don't do that part. Just hear what I said and then turn the rest off.
But that's okay. Hey,
I mean that's effectively what he's saying.
My Xbox warriors, we are alive. PlayStation cannot beat us. Microsoft is daddy, biggest company in the world, baby, and I have stocks.
I have multiple stocks.
It's
7 or more.
Not a huge. I will say if because some people are they're older. He said specifically they're older than 1 year. 2 of them are community based, and 2 of them are smaller. Hi-Fi Rush, we know for sure is basically one of them, and that's one of the.
So I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Did they literally say it like that?
Yes.
So say that again, because I didn't watch this because I just was like, okay, snooze fest.
Yeah, it was totally snooze fest. 2 community games. But all the games are older than a year. 2 community games, 2 like smaller indie games.
Is this like one of those like detective boxes that you can get?
No, I think I don't know what they. So I think some people are like kind of figuring it out, but it's like until we get actual confirmation, I don't know.
I don't think these aren't even. I wouldn't call these clues.
Hi-Fi Rush, because we already like have the pooled data, so we know it's that one. And then I think it sounds like it might be Sea of Thieves, which is if it is Sea of Thieves is a fun game. That like we're talking Skull and Bones being dead on arrival. Sea of Thieves is like actually the pirate game I would recommend. That one is actually fun. And
Sea of Thieves, from what I've understood, based on specifically consuming content about how bad Skull and Bones is, it just seems like the game has already been made. Skull and Bones was going for, and then they just did a much worse job.
So just play Sea of Thieves instead. If that's the one that comes, play that one instead.
Yeah,
that one's fun.
And then, of course, I would assume the other one is 100% all of the Halos. Because they'll give away the golden goose first, right?
Probably. I was low key hoping Halo Infinite because I think it's a little bit better space. But
what's the exclusive driving game for Xbox? What's like their only on Xbox driving game?
I mean, I guess at this point, anything Bethesda. Forza Horizon's probably like the biggest, like the one that like regularly gets good reviews. Yeah,
I feel like it's going to be a game like that has like a huge community that loves it, but then also no one else really cares that much that isn't part of like loving racing games.
Yeah.
Which based on CES, we're on the wrong side of that because
that's a niche that
hey,
we're just not
into.
Do
you want a car thing?
And people were all over that shit.
And everybody was over it. I would love a car thing. I think it's just because I have my car outside, but that one not inside.
It's because we're filthy libs in the city, dude. That public transit, bruh. That's why. I think we forget.
Do you public transit that much?
Public transit. I do actually.
How often? When's the last time you went on the train?
Literally this weekend.
Okay.
For me. I transit often. I hop on the bus all the time on Western. God, I lost my train of thought. Thanks, Spencer.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's all right.
No, it's okay. That's what I do here. But I think we have talked it all to death for that.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit as we're kind of getting towards the latter half. Let's just go straight to, because, basically someone played like Vita, PSP emulation, and it works on the PlayStation Portal. Pretty cool. Just should have been what it was.
Well, now there's rumors that they're working on the PSP 2 or something. Like they're actually going to make one.
It's almost as if this was a low cost, low risk, high reward thing to be like, if we made something that's handheld and Sony branded, PlayStation branded, would people buy it? And the answer is people will buy it.
You just have to. People bought the Vita, just the memory cards. Sony's got to stop doing proprietary shit on things that doesn't need it. Like no Bluetooth on the Portal is stupid.
Insane.
The proprietary memory cards on the Vita is what killed it, basically. And they were stupid
proprietary
expensive.
the proprietary within their proprietary, where it's like none of the Sony headphone brands.
Oh yeah, no, specifically PlayStation Link compatible headphones. Yes,
it's like, come on. Like
it's so weird because then sometimes they do hardware stuff. Like the Pulse Elites, the $150 wireless headset, getting incredible reviews from audiophiles.
Yeah, it's they're confusing in how they approach.
It's so weird,
but their consoles, like literally, like it only makes sense about their consoles. Everything else is always so freaking confusing.
It's truly baffling because we're gonna go on like a little rant here on Sony.
We're going on a sidebar.
No, we have to. We have
talked about this. We haven't. There's too many headphones to buy for one system. There's too many. We're all confused. Which ones are the ones we should get?
But beyond just that, I think just the way that Sony approaches basically everything that they do, with the exception of video games specifically. Maybe their music studios, maybe like the record label. They just happen to own good record labels, though. Is where that happens. But maybe that's the same thing for games. Go look at Madam Web right now. This is the same parent studio, Sony Pictures,
that is crazy.
That did
their highs are high.
Across the Spider-Verse, Into the Spider-Verse, two of the greatest Spider-Man movies. Period.
It is crazy.
And then they know Madam
how to
Web.
Make it.
Yeah. Who's making decisions out there that you get both of that extreme?
Now this is all through Christine telling me about the press tour of Madame Web.
It's been incredible.
This is not from any
incredible
direct source. This is from my wife telling me and me laughing at how fun it is. Just the idea that when asked about like Spider-Man or being in a superhero movie, how effectively it's like they all thought they were maybe going to be in like the Marvel one.
They for sure thought they were in the MCU.
They didn't necessarily understand that it was the Sony side of it. And then I think once they all were doing it, they're like, okay, so this was okay. So this was not we all kind of didn't know what we were getting into, huh?
Yep.
Which I think is fun. Also, I don't think that's true because if you're an agent, like your job is literally to make sure that they don't make mistakes like that. And they all of the cast is pretty stacked. They all got a good agent. Like, but it's fun. I really do think it's fun. And I will see it. And honestly, I did not understand anything about Madame Web, and reading about how this movie ends, truly wild. Seems crazy that this movie was even thought to be made.
I have to see it.
Movie.
I have to see it just to see, is it really as bad as everyone's saying? Because there's a couple of like pretty chill movie reviewers that typically find like the positive in everything, even like movies that they don't like, oh, but this was good, but that was good, this and that. Like if you like this type of stuff, you'll like this movie. Even all of them were like, nothing redeeming. It was funny, but it was not intentionally.
I will say, and this like up until a couple plane rides in the past, I had not seen either Venom movie. But then, like, in quick succession, I went on some trips and I watched both Venom movies. And, like, at the end of it, I was like, these suck, but I enjoyed it.
They're entertaining,
like,
at least.
They're really not good in any way, but Tom Hardy being so weird is fun. I think that's the thing
that's
that
entertainment.
Sony can't. That's, like, they know, like, that's the...
But
and I think it's tough.
That's the tough part, because it's like, okay, but...
How much of it's intentional?
If we're talking about thematic and writing and pacing, like The Last of Us, the Uncharted franchise is like a good example of like, here's what an action flick should be, good, but in video game format, and it works really well. Ghost of Tsushima, Horizon, like all of these have like solid underlying story. God of War, solid like
and
writing.
Like all of them are basically
underneath them.
They're all basically begging to like shave off like 5 to 8 hours of story to put it into like a mini series. Like because a game inherently but they're like no. But if you just streamline this shit's a dope 8 episodes.
It's a constant cycle of like. Yeah. How does this work? How do you function, Sony, as a production studio or entertainment company? Sometimes it's insane. Yeah. Although the post elites, to swing back to there and close that loop, they're using drivers from all these. You remember how they bought out all these, the high end headphone maker, last year? They're using their drivers.
Interesting. Wait, are they planar magnetic?
They're not planar magnetic specific. It's a different one. They are like
the
film.
So I was like,
something
I don't think
maybe they are.
Has that happened with?
Not with wireless.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know what that totally means, but I know it means good. Okay, so in another confusing to continue confusing Sony messaging. So like last week on the call, whatever the Sony like stakeholders call. The CEO was like, oh yeah, latter half of the life cycle. That's why we didn't really hit the target. It's on the downward curve. And everyone started freaking out. Like a lot of people were like, I can't believe this. This just started. Yeah. And like, I think fairly a lot of people are like, pandemic years don't count. They just don't. They're not supposed to count for anything. But that technically was time that passed. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And also, hey, you couldn't get it that whole time too. It's like, well, yeah, but still, it did exist. Even though I think everyone should be on that side where it's like, we just don't count those. Like, except for like, you get seniority at your job, maybe. It still counts for like those things, but otherwise it's like, you can be the age you were 2 years before.
Sure.
Like, I'm technically 31 is basically what I'm saying.
Delay everything for sure.
Yeah, really high cholesterol 31, but 31 nonetheless. But so I think the thing is, people are freaking out, and I think they're over freaking out for a thing
Yeah.
that is a pretty standard cycle for something. The latter part of the cycle simply means we're probably past the halfway point.
Yes.
Which, if you look at
word for word
to now,
bar for bar, they said in 2024, the PlayStation 5 is entering the latter half of its life cycle, which is just
so the normal thing.
How time works.
Yeah, and it's always 8 years, 10 years max.
It's been
console.
7. It's literally since the PS1 or since the PS2. It's been on a 7-year cycle. Every 7 year after the initial release is the next thing, and that puts us exactly at that time frame. Now, back to your point about the pandemic years and stuff.
Like, we got the mid-cycle refresh.
Yeah, we're about to get that. Which I don't even know. Like, the call was strange. Like, are they still doing that? Microsoft's kind of not doing that. I don't know. The whole point about the pandemic and stuff, like, from the perspective of like, but there's been hardly any like games that I can only play on my PlayStation 5. I'm not going to argue that point because that's just true. Totally, there really isn't that much. I don't know, but then people are like, this is why I'm going to move to PC. I'm like, cool, do it. PC gaming is cool. It's also much more of a pain in the ass. But also, PC gamers are upgrading their shit in less than that amount of time. What are you talking about? Save money.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, it's like, no, you can't save money PC gaming. Like, because you don't get 8 years, 7 years off of almost anything in a computer.
Especially if you buy it at a similar console price.
Like, literally the case.
If you buy it at a console price, you are for sure not getting 7 years, 10 years out of that thing.
No.
Get out of here. But yeah, it's now I will say the latter half of any console life cycle, Xbox, Nintendo, PlayStation, usually is when the best games for that generation come out.
Yes.
So that's what I'm hoping kind of follows suit here a little bit. It's already bare bones this year. I mean, Helldivers 2 just landed. I think they kind of just lucked into this one. But we'll see how long.
But there's really no other
major. No major. I mean, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. That one doesn't hit your niche, but that's a relatively big one, and then that's pretty much it. Until next year. We'll see what, like, Santa Monica Studios probably not that much right now because they just released God of War Ragnarok a year ago. But we'll see what Naughty Dog is cooking up, what Sucker Punch is cooking up. The second Ghost of Tsushima potentially should be coming up pretty soon. There's a few studios that, like, you should have something ready to announce within this next year at least.
You probably, like, kind of have to.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you can't just keep going. Yeah, I think it's, like, because we have had the pleasure of living in the exact time we live in, being the exact age we are, where it was like we basically never didn't have video games in our life that were a pretty major part of it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, we're pretty used to the turn time. I think if anything, as like more gamers get older and maybe don't think about that perspective as much, 8 years just feels faster.
Yeah, it straight up does. It straight up does.
Like, you know, like when the PlayStation 2 the PlayStation 2 in my head is like 99% of my like late childhood to, it feels like all the way up until college.
Yeah.
Even though that was like PlayStation 3 and 4. But in my head, it's like PlayStation 2 was that whole time. And then it's like, boom, we got like PlayStation 4. But I was like, oh, wait, no, there's the whole PlayStation 3 in the middle of that. You know, it's like, it's crazy how many consoles we've contributed to just persisting for forever in the earth.
You know, what's crazy is, you know, here's a thought for you. How many more of these do we have left?
I mean, if we get our wish, 0.
Oh, man.
That wish, we die in the war, baby.
squashing some bugs,
Spreading democracy,
spreading managed democracy. It's gonna be fine. I think. I understand. I get it, people. Everyone's gonna be fine. And hopefully, with I think studios are starting to discover we can't spend $300 million making Spider-Man 2 only to net $20 million at 6 months after launch. This is unsustainable.
So I think it really is, but it's gonna be fine. We're gonna get some games, and I was thinking of ending on a game pitch for the God of War studio.
Okay. Santa Monica Studios.
Okay.
Listen up.
Santa Monica Studios, listen up. All right. So you know how sometimes in sequels you can do a subtitle, God of War Ragnarok, or occasionally you mix up the title, right? Like you kind of turn it on its head. God of War, War on God. And it is Kratos attacking the Bible. And he is fighting Jesus. And he's trying, one of the mini bosses are Solomon before he cut his hair, but then you meet Solomon later and he had cut his hair, or Samson. And there's all that stuff. Judas, sneaks you into the Last Supper. Think about how much fun, because they smashed into Greek mythology. It's if we're just going to just mythologies.
Okay.
This is probably God of War in 1,000 years. It's they're gonna do God of War Christianity or God of War King James Bible. And I think I will say,
okay,
as long as you only have to change one thing to make this game work, Jesus has to win and take up the blades.
Jesus does not have use for blades.
Well, in this timeline, Jesus needs to.
Oh man,
it'd be good. People would want to see it.
Corey Barlog, this one's for free.
Yeah, that's an easy Billy. An easy Billy.
Yeah, nothing could potentially go wrong at all. Speaking most of this episode about internet overreacting, this one is not a candidate for overreactions online.
Why would you overreact to this?
In any capacity. So there you have it here. Spencer is a double agent masquerading as a Sony pony soldier, and he's actually covert Microsoft mafia trying to get Sony canceled.
It's hard to be this good. All sides want you. You gotta give it a to
Hey, thanks for listening. This has been the podcast.
Bye.
Jesus.